marketing as a whole has to be like all the different little pieces. So I wanted an ecosystem of marketing, and I wanted the marketing to outshine referrals. If I had this marketing machine, I didn't need to rely heavily on managers to go find work or myself to go find work. I could just eventually one day just slot in people to do the work, and I wouldn't be afraid of anyone leaving us and taking the clients with us.
Welcome to the Seven Figure Accounting Podcast. Super excited to have with me today, Davie Mach from Box Advisory. Davie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let us introduce you to our listeners a little bit. Tell us a little bit about who you are and why you became an accountant.
Well, firstly, I just want to say it's a privilege and honor to be here, to meet you as well. Nick, I've followed your journey since I first started my accounting business. I also have team members that used to work with you as well, so will work for your firm as well. So
yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, but yeah, a bit about me. I started in accounting when I was 17 years old. I'm about 35 years old this year, so it's nearly pretty much half my life now.
Yeah, wow.
So I've been accountant my whole life. People used to ask me why I do accounting. I always say, fulfilled the Asian prophecy. My mom and dad said, be a doctor, be a lawyer, or be an accountant, and I decided to be an accountant. Yeah, and luckily for me, I really enjoyed accounting, and so when I went out on my own, started my own accounting practice, I really enjoyed it, and I realized that there's so many things we can do as an accountant to help clients. So that's what happened when I first started my accounting business, and now we've got about 30 plus staff members, and more than half of them are based in the Philippines. We also have a great core team in Sydney. We also have some people who are in Melbourne as well. So it's kind of like a hybrid team as well. So yeah, that's what I do as an accountant full time. Also have some things on the side. I run a podcast. I invest in businesses, and just started finally investing in myself as well in terms of property and investments. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
Excellent. Well, I'm super excited to have you here today and go through your journey, because it's been rapid. You've had some really strong growth, and I think that you're doing things that accounting firms, when they hear it today, they'll be blown away, going, well, why have we never thought about that? So let's dig into it. So 2019 was when you started the firm?
No, 2016.
2016.
Actually.
So tell us why you started your own firm. What was the thing that triggered you to actually go and start your own firm?
It was the money. I think when I grew up, mum and dad, we grew up in tough times, and when mum got sick because she worked really hard, and as a result, my dad had to quit his job and be a full-time carer. And so being Asian and, the whole Asian heritage, we had to give back to our parents. And so when I remember when I was 15, my dad pulled me into a room and he said, look, Davie, you're old enough to know now. And he said, your mum's very sick and she's been sick for quite some time. And we don't have the money to support you. So they said, I was tutoring at that time, because being Asian, a lot of Asians like to get the kids tutoring. He said I can tell my dad when he was speaking to me that he felt like he was such a failure, that he said I can't pay for your tuition, you got to quit.
Yeah, wow.
And when he said that to me and it got me in a room, I at first felt, wow, I don't have to go to tutor. I don't have to study at all. I just went, yeah, man. But then I realized after that he was really serious, and I said to him, don't worry about it, Dad. We can get out of it. And I didn't know what we were talking about. I didn't know how bad we were in debt.
Yeah.
My dad refinanced a home loan out, and he cashed out credit cards to repay for bills. And he had so many bills that he just didn't know what was going to happen. And he wanted to sell the house, but he had nowhere to live. So he had to do some dodgy way to get the finance to be able to survive for the next 5 years until his kids could go out and work. So he actually told me, I was the youngest, my two older brothers, that you got to focus on working and making money for the family. Study still, but you got to understand that now you got to make money for the family. So basically from 15 years old, I decided I need to get a job. So I did whatever I could to find a job and jumped into accounting because I thought accounting was perfect. Got a scholarship, started in accounting when I was 17 years old, and they call it like a cadetship back in the day. I think
Yeah.
they still call that, right?
Yeah.
Started a cadetship, and that's the rest is history. Like I've been there doing it for like 17 years now.
Yeah.
In accounting.
So what made you though? Because obviously working in a firm
Yeah.
and going out to set up your own at 26, like what triggered you to go and do that? Was it you had enough experience and you thought, well, actually I can do it better than the partners and I can live a different life? Or what was the thing that really, because I know a lot of people struggle to make the decision to actually go and do it.
Yeah. I struggled as well, I have to admit. I think I probably took too long. I was accountant for like 8-9 years before I decided to go out on my own. If you look at the age, I was 26 when I started. So people would say it's really young, but I started when I was 17 years old, and I was a manager at that time. I was very experienced, but I actually didn't want to start an accounting firm. I just wanted to start a business to make money because my mum and dad wasn't doing so well, and we needed to pay off the mortgage. But I couldn't figure out what kind of business, so it just kind of fell on my lap. I ended up starting the accounting business because clients came back to me and they said, "Hey, Davey, I need you to do my work." And I said, "You know what? It's money. It's good money. I might as well do it. I'm very good at it." So I just start up the accounting business. Realized, holy crap, it's so easy to start this business. These days, when I was 26 years old, there was Xero, there was cloud accounting, there was everything you can do basically without needing team members, without needing an office, without needing some sort of expensive software. So I just started.
And was the first few years, it was just you and, what sort of income were you earning in the first couple of years?
Yeah, I started with $20,000 in my bank, and I thought I was going to spend it, but I didn't spend a single cent of that $20,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and what happened was I started getting clients straight away, friends and family, ex-clients that were that moved on and didn't like the next accountant that they were working with, and then came back and said, "Davey, might as well just come join me, come work with us." So I started with them, and I managed to get about, I would say, 100,000 in fees. So I knew that when I first started, there would be about $40,000 in fees. So I knew that 12 months I would get 40,000. But then I knew that I had $20,000 in cash. So that means 60K, that's enough for me to live off. I was in my brother's old bedroom working. Didn't need to pay for rent. My mum was making me food. So I didn't really have much expenses. So that's how I started. And then luckily, 8 months to 12 months down the track, I started getting some really good wins. I did a lot of marketing, SEO, built my own website, and I started writing articles, and those articles are really good online, and people were reaching out just from seeing my website and Googling a question about taxes. Yeah.
Did you have a certain niche or anything at that time, or were you trying to deal with everyone and anyone right from the start? Or
I niched down. I niched down to contractors. And consultants, and I felt contractors and consultants were a good avenue to target because easy money, not many transactions, very low risk in terms of servicing them. If you're servicing hospitality and retail, there's a lot of transactions and you can make a lot of money on it because there's a lot of fees. But because there's so many transactions, you can easily make a mistake or miss something.
Errors,
Whereas consultants and contractors, 1 or 2 invoices a month, barely any expenses, I can pump them out really quick. Yeah,
that's interesting. So you've had rapid rise. I'll say rapid rise, and I'll position it now. You've gone from, in 2019 you had $336,000 worth of revenue to today, 6 years later, over 3 million. It's been big growth. I'm looking at the stats here and it's between 19 and 20, you had 93% growth, and then you had 53%, 60%, 43.75, 30%. Most people listening to this now have probably fallen off the chair already because typically accounting firms are happy with 5 to 10% growth, which I think if you're only growing at 5 to 10%, you have not built a business. You have not figured out how to fix and build something that is sustainable and great. And so I want to talk a little bit about, because they're pretty big jumps. So obviously rapid growth comes the challenges, the things you did, but what between 19 and 20, you basically almost doubled your revenue. Like what happened there that suddenly went from, 336 to 650?
2019 to 20.
Yeah.
Probably hired my first, I think I hired the senior accountant at that time.
Yep.
So I was able to push all the work over to him. He was more of a senior/supervisor, so he was very experienced. And when I hired him, I was able to get off the tools, stop doing the work, and then just focus on the most important things, which were sales, marketing. And I think I had a lot of more energy to do that. And I think in 2019 was when I started my marketing, like the videos online as well.
Yep.
So I was already doing marketing, but it was more written form marketing and SEO. But yeah, videos was something that not many accountants were doing. And I think at that time, the reasoning behind it was, one, accountants don't know how to talk and communicate. And two, everyone kept saying it's advice, and they're worried that if you put information out there that people will sue you. We're very risk averse. But then you realize that you're providing, people aren't dumb. People aren't going to try to sue you over just a video that about taxes. People just get that information and then they'll do their own research and speak to their own accountant, or, speak to you and get proper advice, paid advice. They can't sue you over a video.
Yeah.
And so I realized that doing videos is something that is cheap, because the only cost it really costs is the equipment and the time to edit, which I can pay for. But when it came to putting ads out there, it was a lot more expensive, because I'm competing with the big dogs. All the big dogs of accounting firms were putting ads out there, and they were willing to put a lot of money. They had a massive budget, but what they didn't have was someone that's willing to get on camera. So I knew that was a competitive edge, and I just jumped at that. Yeah.
So let's go there now then, and then we'll come back to the growth of the business, because you nail YouTube like I've never seen an accountant do it, and it's generating great returns for you. Do you want to talk a little bit about the strategy? So is that your main strategy now, or was it when you started back in 19 that was the main strategy, but it's evolved?
That's an interesting question, actually. I don't think videos and YouTube was the main strategy. I think marketing as a whole has to be all the different little pieces.
Yeah.
If you just do videos, you're not going to do so well, because yes, you've drummed up a lot of branding and someone wants to talk to you, but then you need the software and tech and the emails to be able to direct the lead to your website, and then your website to book in the meeting. So I feel like from the very start, we were very smart in a way where we built an ecosystem. So we had SEO, we had articles that we wrote. We converted those articles into videos and scripts. That was the top of the funnel. And then we realized that just because you built trust and contact with these leads, we needed a team to actually build stronger trust, teach them something, give them advice that they can't find on the internet, which then we needed a sales team. So we built a sales team. So I think all of those small things that we did helped, make YouTube amazing. Yeah.
So your overall strategy though, is it thought leadership and content led? So videos, obviously you started writing SEO and blogs and did your own website when you first started. So is it largely around the content is the way that you get your message out? Yeah,
content's king. I would say when I first started, I relied heavily on referrals, family and friends. Yep. But I knew that was going to dry out. I don't know if everyone thinks that, I don't understand why people think that referrals is that should be something you should focus on.
I think it's the worst strategy you can do. If you want to scale a business, you can't rely on it.
Yes, especially when you find someone that can refer you all the clients, then that person's got you by your neck, basically. Right? They can ask for a commission, they can ask for fees, or if they decide, you know what, I'm gonna just sell the business, then it completely changes everything.
Yeah, I agree.
So I knew that referrals was a great source of income, but I knew that I needed something that was better. And my goal was to build a business that didn't really heavily rely on me in terms of like I could step out of it.
Yep.
Did I do that? I don't know, because I built a brand that's under my name now. Basically, people know who I am now, so they want to work with me. But my goal initially was build a marketing machine. Yeah, and I think I did it with YouTube. And the reason why I chose YouTube over like ads was because I just didn't have the budget for ads. Yeah.
So how many leads, just to give some context, how many leads a month would you be getting now from your overall content strategy? And a big part of it obviously is YouTube. How many would you be getting in a month?
Overall, we'll get about 100 to 120 leads a month. Just recently, it's blown up a bit.
Yeah. Can you say that again, just so everyone, in case they didn't hear that? How many was that?
100 to 120 leads, and these leads are bookings, actual appointments, not like someone just emailing us and asking us a question, actually spending their time to book in a meeting with us.
That's a proper marketing machine. And how much of that would you attribute to actually YouTube?
So it's funny because I just want to point this out. When we first started,
it was
Google,
nothing like that.
Yeah. Google was like pretty much most of it.
Yeah.
Like I would say, 50% was Google.
Yeah.
Referrals were 30%, and then the rest was like, Instagram, social media, and YouTube. And then we just saw this horse, like we graph it up, and we have this table, and we just saw YouTube just slowly creeping up. And then I was like, guys, I think we found the right instrument for us to grow.
Yeah.
Because no one's doing this. No one's doing YouTube. And everyone used to say, and they still say today, that YouTube is a search engine. It's the biggest search. What do you call it?
It's the biggest search engine, really.
Yeah,
globally.
basically, it's the biggest search engine.
Google.
Yeah, because people want to watch videos these days. So we knew that YouTube was the way to go. So we jumped onto YouTube bandwagon, and we focused all our energy. And I'm telling you, when I first started, there was barely any leads.
Yeah.
But slowly over time, there was one thing I noticed about the leads. They were so qualified. They were so warm. And it didn't matter what I told them the price was, they would buy anyway. And that I felt like was even better than my families and my referrals from families. Because families always ask for a discount. Whereas these guys, they're willing to pay whatever. And they're also willing to just sign up straight away. And they didn't even ask questions about the pricing because they already done their research. So I just went, YouTube has to be the way to go. So we focused a lot of energy and money onto YouTube.
Yeah. One of the things that my coach taught me, a guy called Davie Mach, is that binges are buyers. And it's now about, he calls it brand width. So it's about how can you get your content in front of someone consistently, because the more they've watched you, they're already coming in, they know, like, and trust you, which is why they're reaching out to you. So the fact that you've been able to create that, and I think the key part is here though, you started it over 6 years ago. It's not something that happens overnight. So for anyone that's thinking, I'll just go and start filming, it's going to take some time. How did you go finding your voice? Because obviously that's a challenge, is that when you stick a camera in front of you, it's a little bit awkward at the start, and you probably look back at the videos that you first did and cringe at like how bad they were.
I've actually posted them too. So I remember a funny story where one of the videographers, he still does some of my videos. We recorded the first 6 videos in 2019, and we watched it, and he edited everything, and he said to me, Davey, I think we should reshoot it. And I said,
that good?
And I said, no, I think it's good. Like, we can post it. And he's like, nah, David, we can't post this. You can't. Like, you 100% cannot post this. And I said, we're fucking posting it. I don't give a shit. Yeah, I'm not doing that again. Like, I'm not gonna reshoot that.
Yeah.
And he said to me, like, they're not that great. Like, you can do a lot better. And I was like, no, post them. And I want feedback from others. I want people to see it and give me proper feedback. And if people give me bad feedback, it will just, yes, it would hurt. And then it will give me the motivation to do better. So over time, I posted all my videos, and I found that posting all the videos and then learning from the feedback and then fine tuning everything by 1%. And I'm talking about every single thing. Like, I went to a speech pathologist.
Okay.
So to work on the way I pronounce things.
Yep.
I went to communication coaches. I looked at the topics. I studied the topics of like competitors. I studied topics based on different industries. And I watched so much content on YouTube about like, videos and how to do it. And then I realized that there are three main things that you should focus on those videos. Entertainment is one of them.
Yep.
Education, which is, you see that a lot of our content's about education. And the third one is inspiration as well. So inspiring people to, do better, whatever it is in their life. And so we decided that that is the magic formula, and we focused on that as well. So we just did, small little improvements. And sometimes the improvements worked over a period of time, and then over time it kind of fizzles out, and we're going to try something different. Yeah. Last year we spent a whole year because we felt like we plateaued for a whole year and we couldn't crack it. We felt like, yes, it was, we were getting, I think it was like 600 subscribers every month, new subscribers, which you think is, wow, it sounds good. But for us, we've been getting that for a whole year, every single month, and it didn't increase, and we didn't understand why. And so we were trying to figure out, we were doing all these different things. Then we figured it out, we cracked it, and we had like 100,000 videos for one of the videos. 100,000 views for one of the videos. Then we realized that those watchers or those audience didn't end up booking a appointment with us. So it was kind of like a waste of time.
So lots of impressions, but no one actually booking, which is the goal. Ultimately.
Yeah, the goal. Yeah. So we decided, we should scratch that idea. So it's not always about the metric. It's
about the outcome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the outcome. So that's what we did. We just focused on everything. We made a lot of mistakes. We spent a lot of money as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've dialed in your marketing, which is evident. If you started in 2019, you then went to 650,000 revenue pretty quickly. The next year you jumped to $1 million. So if you only had one team member back in 1920 and now you're at 30 plus, like that's significant growth over the next 5 years. Like, what were you thinking? Like the leads started coming in, you got to $1 million in revenue really in 3 years. Well, you call it 6, but 3 years of solid growth. Like when you got to the $1 million, what was your thoughts then? Did you have a clear strategy of where you wanted to go? Did you have a clear plan, or were you just growing because you're building this marketing engine and people were coming in to get help from you?
Yeah, I think when I first started the business, I had this plan. There was like a 5-pillar plan. Yep. And the first pillar was, get to $1 million in fees, because that's what everyone tells you. Like my mentors,
not many do it.
Yeah. They said like, if you get to 1 mil, you're going to start making profit. And I actually understand that now, that if you're doing 500K, yes, you're making profit, but you're just essentially just self-employed. You're paying yourself.
Job. Yeah.
You're paying yourself. Once you get to mil, you can pay someone to do the work. You can pay for marketing, you can pay for rent, software, and all those overheads. And then there's a bit of profit at the end as well. So that's a proper business. So I didn't understand at the start, but I realized that, getting to 1 mil was one of those pillars that luckily I planned for. The second thing was building a marketing machine. So I wanted an ecosystem of marketing. It wasn't just going to be like, just do YouTube. I needed to focus on, SEO, website, and my website and the tech around it, and then the emails and collecting everyone's emails, and the content marketing strategy where we create one large pillar video and then cut it into bite size to get more people to watch the long form video. So we had this like crazy strategy with marketing, and I wanted the marketing to outshine referrals. So that was one of the goals. Because I felt like if I had this marketing machine, I didn't need to rely heavily on managers to go find work, or myself to go find work. I could just eventually one day just slot in people to do the work. And I wouldn't be afraid of anyone leaving us and taking the clients with us. I was like, you can take the clients if they trust you. That's one thing. And the second thing is, if I'm happy for you to go out on your own one day. But if I have the marketing machine, they'll kind of want to stay with me, the managers, because I'm the one that's bringing in all the leads. So that was the second pillar. Third pillar was to become a thought leader. I wanted to, get on podcasts like this. I wanted to teach people. I wanted to be seen as the advisor for businesses and small businesses, even for accountants. So I have to say, like when, growing up, I was very introverted. I didn't know how to speak to people. And I had to just learn that. So over time, threw myself in the deep end, did some keynotes and spoke at panels. And I remember like I had accountants that was 60 years old, and they would just smirk and roll their eyes when I would talk on a panel. And it really, really drove me down. Like I was so nervous, and it just made me feel inferior. And I always felt like that my whole life. And so I had to push through it. So for the last 5 years, I've just been trying to be like a key person of influence in the industry and doing things like this. So that was really hard, and I tried to do that. And I think I've done a good job, especially with the videos. The videos have helped me. And the last thing I did is I wanted to rinse and repeat. And what I meant, I didn't know what I meant by rinse and repeat at that time, but I knew that if I kept, with all those 4 pillars, if I just kept doing it again, getting another million, focusing on the marketing machine, becoming a keynote speaker, and building processes, then I would be able to figure out how to grow this business even further. And at that point in time, when I first started it, I thought it was start a franchise model, but I realized that franchising is not a really good model for accountants. And the reason being is because you're relying heavily on the type of advice and the relationship, and it's hard to build that trust with service-based businesses. So I thought that was a bad idea. I did miss a pillar. I just realized the last one of the 4th pillars was actually building processes and systems to support the growth. And so what I realized about growing a $1 million business, the processes I had when I was 100, 200K wouldn't work. Yeah, and so you had to keep refining the processes. So that was the strategies I had and a plan in place that I had. And it's crazy. Still to this day, I'm still doing the same plan. Focus on the mill, grow that 1 mil, build the processes and systems, fix up the marketing machine, and just try to grow the marketing machine. And then become jump on keynote speaking events, do more events, get more PR, and then rinse and repeat. And now the rinse and repeat is very different. I'm just trying to help my team members become the keynote speakers and, get their branding up and grow them. Yeah.
And that's cool because you went from 1 to 1.6 and 1.6 to 2.3, then 2.3 to, 3 mil. There's sizable growth year on year.
Yeah.
So from a team of nothing to a team of, 30 plus today, how did you deal with the growth of the business? Was it all time consuming? You're working, 7 days a week, 24 hours, or how did you balance substantial growth with everything that you were doing?
Yeah. If I told you I had balance throughout the whole, 6 years of that growth, I would be lying. During COVID, I think I got a bit lucky in the sense that we grew really fast. And I didn't need to travel to work. I didn't need to talk to the team as much. And so I just worked like a workhorse. I just worked so hard. And I think the way I saw it was there's this massive opportunity. The business is growing. I hit a gold mine with the marketing, and it was working, and I was getting all these leads. I just wanted to do my best to try to grow this. It was just an amazing opportunity. And I think as business owners, you know what I mean? If there's just something that's just working, you just want to, feed it more fuel and
double down on it.
Yeah, double down on it. So that's what I did. I just focused very hard on growing the business. And did I give up a lot of my social life and my personal life? Yes, I did. I luckily had a really great partner who eventually joined the business as well. And then over time, because I was wearing all the hats, I realized that I needed to delegate, find people to replace me. And over time, I just hired more people. And I think I got very lucky in the sense that when I built the model in a way where clients will prepay me fees. So what I mean by that is we're doing the current year's financials, 2025, for example, 2024 for last year, but we'll also make them pay for the current financial year as well for 2025. So technically, when it comes to the work, we do business activity statements and the regular GST taxes that you have to do on a regular basis for the current financial year. But the bulk of the work gets done the next year. So I was collecting fees for the current financial year, even though the work was going to be done next year.
Yeah.
So I was getting my clients to crowdfund me. I got that money, sat it into my bank account, got an overdraft, and then hired like crazy. So yeah, you saw I had 1 or 2 employees in 2018-19, and then it just ballooned to 30 now. I didn't always have the cash for it. I managed to get the clients to pay me earlier so I can get the cash to do the work.
Which is a smart pricing strategy. And I mean, to go from $1 million to 2.3 in 2 years is significant growth. So what do you think were the main things that you implemented to be able to, I mean, obviously you worked hard through that time and you're going to get the results from that in the years to come. But what were the main things you implemented in the business to be able to deal with the volume of work? Because obviously a lot of new team members coming on and onboarding them, getting them to the level that you need them, bringing in the delivery side of the business to actually be able to deliver the work.
Yeah.
What were the big things that you did to really make that so that it just didn't blow up in your face and suddenly you're losing clients because of it?
Yeah, I studied a lot of industries, and I studied the gym industry when it came to subscription model. I studied the startup and tech industry because of the way they grew really fast. And so to answer that, I copied a lot of the tech industry. And what I noticed about the tech industry was that they had different departments. They had a customer service department, they had the operations department, they had the engineers, which I called them the operations, which is the accountants, and they also had the onboarding team. So I just built departments within my business, and at that time, no one did that in the accounting firms.
No.
Yeah.
It's what we teach firm owners now is segregating it and having just specialists. But
yeah,
I mean,
it comes with its pros and cons.
Yeah.
The cons is that the clients don't feel like they have a relationship with you. But I say to my team that it's just the way you explain it to clients. I explain to clients that you want to work with me. If I don't have a team to do all the work that you don't value, all the services you don't value, like doing a tax return, BASes, all that stuff, like, you know the job is going to get done. And if you were to ask me to do it, I'll probably do a bad job of it. Like, I think, yeah, because that's not my skill. My skill set is to give you advice. So let me focus on giving you advice and being able to pick up the phone call when you do call me, and let my team handle the rest. So I built departments. That was one way to facilitate the growth. I recognize that, and I think that a lot of accountants do this wrong. I recognize that some accountants like to plan their whole year out. And then there are some accountants that are cowboys that just love solving problems. So I segregate those type of clients. Those type of accountants. The ones that wanted to solve problems, you're part of the onboarding team, because the work that comes in, you just need to smash it out, fix it, teach the client, and train them to be better. And then the accountants that were more back office and just wanted to plan their whole year, you work on the existing clients and plan out the whole year's worth of work and how you're going to get it all done, and work on the relationship with those clients. So I separated the accounting team. Yeah.
So you separated it because obviously taking on, $600,000 of fees or $700,000 of fees every year is a lot. So is that the onboarding team, get them up and running, get them on board, get them up and running, and then once there's, in the format that you want them, it's handed over to the business as usual team?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So I felt like that was a better move, because back then when I was working for another accounting firm, I felt like I was doing a really good job. And then out of nowhere, the boss says, "Hey, can you come in, catch up with me with a meeting?" And then it hands me another 2 more clients. And it's like, oh, this is higher priority. And then I had to do the existing work in my own time, or the work would suffer, or the clients would not be happy. And then you see this happen all the time, where existing clients leave and they say that, "Davie, you've grown too big. Or you're not giving me the service that you usually care about. We're too small for you." And then you got these new clients that come on board. And I hated that feeling, and I just didn't want that to happen. So therefore we separated the teams.
Yeah, I think it's smart. I think it's how you've been able to obviously grow. So the org design is obviously one of the big things. Your marketing is obviously another one that's fueled the growth. I want to dig in a little bit about you, because you are obviously incredibly intelligent to be able to build a business, because most firm owners struggle with that. What point did you stop doing the work and start focusing on running you talked about your pillars before, the systems, the process, actually running the business. At what stage did you go, I'm going to drive this thing rather than be the person doing it all?
When did I stop? I think when I hired that first employee that was a senior slash supervisor, I started letting go of my duties, and I over time realized that you kind of gotta teach people, like you gotta figure it out how to do it yourself, and then eventually find the right person to take over, and that person becomes the better person, and they probably do it better than you. So I feel like I'm always learning and working on the next thing for the business. And I felt like from day one I was doing that. From day one I built my own website. And then I started building all the operations and systems and processes. So I felt like I was working on the business straight away. But once I had enough money, I then hired someone to take it over. And when I realized it was more important for me to outsource it, and then I started doing it. So I felt like from day one I started doing it. If that kind of is a sneaky way of not answering your question.
So what do you spend most of your time doing now? So, I mean,
Yeah.
last year, 30% growth, like huge growth, $3 million in fees, you're still incredibly young.
Yeah.
Like, what does most of your time look like now? Like, where do you invest all your time in the business?
I have to say it changes depending on the season and depending on what's happening with the business. But yeah, a few months ago, a lot of my time was focused on putting out fires. So sometimes there are issues that are happening within the business. Client might not be happy, or something's broken in the software or the tech, and I need to go and find another software for it to be replaced, or hiring managers. So because there's too much work. So I've realized that a lot of my time should be focused on being a CEO, and that's just being able to pull resources within the business, and where the departments need that resource, I can grab resources from other parts of the business and bring it over to that department. So I think that's one of the jobs that I do. Another job that I do obviously is the PR and marketing. I think I'm really good at that, and I've trained myself to be better. So we did try using team members to do the PR and marketing, but we realized that it takes a lot of time and effort to actually get better. So I focus a lot of my attention to that. And I would say the last thing is being the visionary, motivating the team members, catching up with them, being around, and making sure that everyone's happy. That's a lot of part of my job right now. However, like I said, it's seasonal, right? So right now we've finished January, and now it's February. And I've realized that there's during February to June, there's a lot of growth for accounting firms. There's a lot of people that want, like, the New Year's resolution, they want to find a new accountant. So I'm back on sales again. Yeah. And so, like, I'm also planning to train another salesperson. So I want to, like, learn how to do the sales again, figure out better ways of doing things, and then train a new salesperson. So I'm always jumping around to different departments and improving it. Yeah.
And I think that's a key point, is the business will always have a constraint.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, a lot of firm owners, unfortunately, their constraint is delivery most of the time, or people. But it's around, there's always going to be a constraint. And the job of a CEO is obviously exactly what you said, direct the resources to fix the constraint. And then once you fix one thing, you're going to break another.
Yeah.
Like if you have too many leads, then your sales normally breaks. And then once you get your sales right, then your delivery breaks because there's such a volume coming in. There's always going to be something.
Yeah, and I've noticed that it's my job to turn the nozzle backwards sometimes. Yeah. I slow it down. And I was actually catching up with another accounting fellow, and they grew their business really fast as well. And it got to a point where it was just too fast. They started getting bad feedback from clients. A lot of clients were leaving. And I can't say that I'm immune to that too. But what I noticed when I felt like that was happening, I just turned off the sales. I just told the guys, let's not do any more sales for the next month. And that happened last year. We had one manager who we thought was gonna, probably replace me, ended up leaving. And so I need to slow down. I need to jump back in, and I need to fix the issues and plug the holes that we had. And as a result, I told the sales team, slow the hell down. Focus your energy now on dealing with the current clients. And yeah, that's like, it takes a lot of headspace to do something like that, because when I turn off the sales, the team relies on that money. And
Yeah.
so therefore, I just need to make sure that we have enough money to survive. So
So you've got a dedicated sales team just doing sales?
yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So with the technology that drives the business, because obviously that would have evolved as the business grows. I mean, reasonable sized team in a short amount of time. What are the main tech stacks? What's the one bit of technology that you're like, without that, we just wouldn't be able to run at the speed we do?
A task management tool. So we use ClickUp. We tried to build our own. We realized how expensive it cost. So we decided to stop that after I sunk like $100,000 on it. But ClickUp, which is our task management tool, and it project manages everything, really helps our business. And the reason being is because we run our business with different departments. So every department has their own jobs and duties and responsibilities, but the clients are all the same. So therefore, when they update something that's happened with that client, and they update that task management tool, everyone can see it. So when a client calls about a specific problem, we as a team can operate together. And I think if we didn't have something like that, that would break the business. Yeah. Because we have thousands of small business clients. Yeah.
Yeah, so visibility of all. So why did you go for like a ClickUp versus one of the industry people that build it for accountants? Did you just find that the structure didn't work with you, or?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this.
Just don't name any names.
Okay, so I found that those industry softwares would steal your data, would hold your data accountable. Would hold your data at ransom. So all that information I had was data that I could help create a report on how many clients are coming or which clients are leaving. But with ClickUp, you can just click a few buttons and export all your data out. Whereas those softwares that we use, I don't know if a lot of accountants ask this, but if you grow from $1 million to $3 million in fees, you won't use that same software anymore. You need another software. And if you can't get that data out, you're going to start from virtually nothing again. Or you're going to pay a whole bunch of money to get that data out. And I found that a lot of those softwares don't really make it clear that you can take that data out. And if they say they do, some of the salespeople say you can get it out. But I don't believe them. I found that every time I wanted to look at the data, it was very hard to get it out unless I had to pay for it.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge point there, is that your technology stack will evolve and grow. So obviously when you're under $1 million, you can use the ones that the software vendors give you for free.
Yes.
It's just part of what their package is, but then you need to move to another one to get to 1 to probably 3 million where you are now, up to about 4 or 5. But your technology is always going to evolve and grow. And
Yes.
I don't think a lot of firm owners think too much about that, because they're just doing the now.
Yeah, I have a really cool analogy about that, which is basically my phone system. I built my phone system for like a one-man band where, someone calls my 1-800 number, it goes to my mobile. But when I have like a team of 30 and thousands of clients, that process doesn't work anymore. So when, what I realized is that clients were leaving because they couldn't get a hold of our phone. Like they tried to call our office number and it's always busy. And the reason being is because the whole morning, my admin person was calling the ATO for client matters. So the phone was just blocked.
Constantly busy.
Yeah. And because the process I built back then worked, when I was like a 1 to 5 man band. But now that there's 30 staff members plus thousands of clients, it just doesn't work anymore. So you had to kind of build a process that works, or that's like, works in advance, where you don't have to keep changing it constantly. Or sometimes you just got to pay extra to make sure that the software or the process that you have is something that will be evergreen and you can keep constantly use it. Yeah.
And I think that's a key point that people might not have picked up there, but you're constantly looking into the future.
Yeah.
And that is the ultimate job of a CEO or someone running the business. So if you're a partner in a firm and you're doing the work, how are you looking ahead and building the the road for people to drive down in the future. And I think that's a lot of what you said today. It's just natural for you, but a lot of the people listening to this, it's not. And,
yeah.
and
It's like I challenged everything my managers always said to me. They used to tell me that offshoring doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, they're just not good enough. And now our whole team is pretty much more than 50% of them are offshore.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy, like how they used to not believe it, and I just challenged it constantly. And sometimes having patience works too. For 6 months we didn't know what we were doing with offshore, I have to admit. And then after 12 months we kind of cracked it and it worked, so we started hiring more. So it just takes time, effort, patience, and you kind of have to be a bit crazy sometimes too, like to actually believe in something that you truly think it's going to work. And the only reason why I thought it was going to work is because I borrowed it from other industries. I saw it in other industries, it worked. Why can't it work for accountants? Yeah
100%. I exactly the same. I looked for all my inspiration outside of the industry rather than going inside. I'll do a little bit of inside, but it was more outside. So you've had massive growth. The question I know that some people have is, did your profitability continue to maintain while you're having that growth? Or was that something that you sacrificed, I suppose, purposely to get to where you are? Or how have you balanced out, I suppose, growth with profitability?
Great question. My first 2 to 3 years, I didn't care too much about profit.
Yeah.
So like I said, whatever money that I was making, I was dumping it back into hiring more employees. Because my goal was, I knew the industry really well, my own accounting industry, that $1 million is when I start making profit. So I did whatever I could to make $1 million. And that meant, paying my employees more than they paid myself.
Yeah.
Spending all the money in my bank account on marketing, and sorry, not marketing, but like spending a lot on how to grow the business. Because in the end, I didn't really spend that much in marketing, I have to say, if we dive into the costs. But I spent a lot of money on employees, and I gave them the time to evolve and get better as the business grew. So I think the rule is you spend 1/3 of your turnover on labor, and then 1/3 on overheads, and then 1/3 is profit. I think at one point in time, it was 70% of my income was spent on employees. And, people look at the numbers and they'll think it's crazy. Why would you spend 70% of your income on your employees? And because they always assumed that my business had just accountants, but no, I had an onboarding team, sales team that's bringing in clients, and I didn't see them as like cost of goods. I saw them as growing my business. And so when I brought those staff members on, if I decided I needed the cash, I could just go, all right, well, guys, you can move back into the accounting industry, or sorry, I probably have to let you guys go. And then I could just straight away turn the tap and I could make profit straight away. But my first goal was get to $1 million. And then once I got to $1 million, then I started going, let's have some fun. Let's see how fast let's see how much I can grow this business. Because the rule then was you can only really manage $1 million in fees.
Yeah,
and
which I think is a fallacy.
Yeah. We've now cracked 3 mil. Are we still growing? Like when you told me the numbers, you can see that my numbers are slowly growing. It's growing, but it's
only 700,000 and 30% growth. It's still fast though, but it'll peter out. It has to naturally come back to a point where it's sustainable and
So for me now, it's just like, okay, well, it's starting to plateau. Maybe the focus should be now my net profit. So now it's net profit.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, I didn't focus on net profit and I still made money. It's so weird that my goal was just to grow, and then eventually somehow I just made profit.
But you've taken that business mindset, and I think I'm 100%. I'm like you. Like I've focused on where's the business going to be in 10 years. As long as it's making money along the way, I want to balance growth and profitability. It's not all about taking money out. It's not all about growth. It's how do you balance the two?
Yep.
But then at some point it needs to be sustainable to give you a good lifestyle, which, up around the numbers you are, the percentages are really strong. Where does the business look in 5 years' time? So you've you've grown fast in the last 6 years, 336,000 in 2019, 3 million now. Like, what does the next 5 to 6 years look like for you? Because you're doing well, but like I'm excited for you to see where you'll be in 6 years. What's that look like?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I don't have an actual plan now because um, it's kind of like a territory that I don't know many people that have like got to, so it's hard to ask the question. And then when I do ask the question, a lot of those people that grow into like 3 mil, they decide to take few steps back and actually retract and because they can't handle the workload. I still want to keep growing. I think that the model I built works, and I actually think that we can get to 5 mil to 10 mil. The difference, however, is that I think that I want to, pass it down. I want my team members to start taking on the roles that I have. Maybe they can be the guy that's the Davie Mach on YouTube, or maybe some of them can be the client manager that just manages all accounting and tax. So I just want to slowly get rid of my duties, pass it over to the team, and then slowly own a small piece of a pie of a bigger business rather than a 100% of a of a small business.
Yeah. So at the moment, have you got other equity holders? Have you brought other people into it, or is that more where you're wanting to take it in the future?
There's a lot of talk, and it's probably going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months. I've gotten to a point where I'm pretty happy where I am, and it's not about the money anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know, this sounds like cliche and stuff, but my goal was to provide for my mum and dad and start a family, and I've been able to do that. And I did that with the team I have right now, and I want them to be able to achieve their goals. Yeah, it's funny, like last year's client team meeting that we had in December, I said to them that let's not focus on the numbers of like growing as much. We still focus on numbers, but let's focus on numbers of making babies. So everyone start making babies.
You're at a different age group to me these days. But...
Yeah. So like, but that's the thing, right? Like life should be a bit of balance, and we've grown, we've put a lot of hard work, and there are some things in life that you should focus on as well. And we've realized that there needs to be some sort of balance. You can't always just constantly keep growing. So, and I want to keep the team that we have right now. So that's my focus. And that's why the next 5 years is, even if we don't grow as fast, we're going to start, getting the team members to take over. And then I would own a smaller portion. I would still grow the business, but in other ways. Maybe we can vertically grow, horizontally grow. I'm not sure yet.
And I think that's the exciting thing. And I think you just mentioned it indirectly there. It's around, the reality is you've got to a point financially where life's pretty good.
Yes.
And it changes from driving to impact. And I think that it's subtly, that's coming through in what you're saying. And even though you said there's no plan, I think you loosely do have a plan. And I'm excited, mate. There's been so much that I've got out of today's conversation. I know we've only scratched the surface on so much. And for anyone that is listening that wants to follow you, learn more about what you do, I know you've done an amazing YouTube video on marketing. I don't know, is it targeted to accounting firms or is it targeted to business? But I just took it as accounting firms.
Yeah, it's targeted to my clients, but it ended up being like for accountants as well. So a lot of my accounting friends are watching it.
Yeah. So check out, what's the best way for people that want to follow you? What's the best channel? Is it YouTube?
Yeah. You can search me up on YouTube, Davie Mach, or you can find me on LinkedIn as well. I'm reachable on LinkedIn. You can DM me on LinkedIn. It's funny because people will feel like they can't reach out, but I always answer. It's always me. So
yeah, awesome. And we'll put that in the show notes, and appreciate it. I know you flew up. So for anyone that isn't in Australia, Davie flew up here a couple of hours and then an hour in transport back and forth as well. So mate, I appreciate you making the effort to come and chat with us today and share your story. It's such a cool one.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No worries.
No worries.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on socials so you don't miss the next episode.